Good afternoon, students. My name is Alana, and the topic in discussion today is disability in education and how it can affect a child's schooling. What is a disability? A disability is any continuing condition that restricts everyday activities. The Disability Service Act defines disability as an attributable to an intellectual, psychiatric, cognitive, neurological, sensory, or physical impairment, or a combination of those impairments, which is permanent or likely to be permanent. It may or not be a chronic or episodic nature, and it can result in substantially reduced capacity of the person for communication, social interaction, learning, or mobility, and a need for continuing support services from teachers, parents, and other students. Types of disability. The main category of disability are physical, sensory, psychiatric, neurological, cognitive, and intellectual. Many people with a disability have multiple disabilities. A physical disability is the most common type of disability. It generally relates to disorders of the circulatory, respiratory, and nervous systems. An intellectual disability affects a person's ability to learn, and mental illness, which affects a person's thinking process, all of which can affect a student's ability to obtain a good education. The role of the teacher. Teaching learned disabled students can be a challenge. These students will need more attention and patience, so it's important to use strategies in a structured environment that is supportive and enhances their learning potential. Some strategies that can be used are to provide oral instruction for students with reading disabilities, to present tests and reading materials in an oral format so the assessment is not influenced by a lacking of reading ability, to provide learning disabled students with frequent progress checks. Make sure you let them know how well they are progressing towards an individual or class goal. To give immediate feedback to disabled students. They need to see quickly the relationship between what was being taught and what's being learned for that outcome. Make activities concise and short whenever possible. Long drawn-out projects are particularly frustrating for a learning disabled child. A learning disabled youngster have difficulty learning abstract terms and concepts. Whenever possible, provide them with concrete objects such as items they can touch, hear, or smell.
Dear teacher, I know it doesn't always seem like it, but I really do want to listen and learn.
It's just my brain is kinda different. So this is what I'd like you to know about me. I have to move, or I really can't pay attention.
Even though I'm not looking at you, I can still listen to what you're saying.
If you tell me, sit up straight, now I have to use all of my brain to do just that.
It makes me feel sad when you tell me to try harder, even though I've already tried as hard as I can.
I actually listen better when I'm rocking in my chair. When you give me a bunch of directions, I start to think I will never remember all of this. Sometimes my mom or dad ends up doing all of my homework. So here's how you could maybe help. Let me get up and move while I'm learning.
Let me look wherever I want when you talk to me.
Let me rock or slouch in my chair.
No matter what, please don't take away my recess. Give me help I could do all by myself. Make directions very short.
Just ask me, what does your brain need right now?
And one more thing. My brain might be different than yours, but it's still amazing.
Sincerely, your student.
You're a student.
Your student. Your student.
This clip is a way for a student to share with their teachers how their brain works and to offer simple ways their teachers can help. A child with a disability wants to learn and to succeed, But there are obstacles, and it's important for the teacher to accommodate their needs and to keep in their mind they're not trying to disrupt the class or to make you frustrated or to swing on their chair or to just have fun. As mentioned in the clip, my brain is kind of different and they want to learn. So it's important for teachers to be attentive and to be patient with them. A real life scenario. On the first day of my placement, it was very interesting. In my class, there was a student who had a learning disability. His parents moved him to a mainstream school because they believed he needed to be challenged and to accommodate with the real world. As it was coming up to NAPLAN, the teacher explained to me that he needs to be moved to another classroom because he wasn't being part of the testing for NAPLAN. But it was going to be a very big challenge for him to change his routine and to move to another classroom and to feel comfortable. When the teacher introduced the idea that he may be leaving the class, he was not happy. He became obsessed on the idea of, I'm staying in room 25. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I don't want to go. I don't like it in the other room. The student became very frustrated. He changed his tone. He became aggressive to the point where the whole class, had to move into the next room. In the classroom was only me, the student, the teacher, and the full-time aide. The student began to cry. He yelled, he stomped his feet, and he threw things. He had a fidget spinner next to him, and he chucked that at his teacher aide. Throughout this whole ordeal, the teacher stayed calm. She communicated with his stop-and-go cards, and she just had patience for the whole situation. I think it's important for us as pre-service teachers to see how a disabled child doesn't like to be changed or to have a different insight to what they typically do and how we can deal with this in the future. So the inclusion in mainstream schools versus special needs schools. Often parents of disabled children will have to make the choice about whether they want their child to go in or to continue in mainstream education or to attend a special needs school. People argue that special needs schools are the best place for children with disabilities as they give them a much better chance of having a full and complete education. Others argue that segregating disabled children from the rest of the community during their childhood can not only be detrimental to them, but can also be damaging to those left in mainstream education because it fosters an image of disabled people being removed from normal society. Below are some of the possible pros and cons to each argument. Should children with disabilities attend special needs schools? The pros. They have better equipped to deal with a child's specific disability because they're set up to cater for children who are disabled or children who have a learning disability. The staff are experienced and know how to deal with each child's specific needs. These type of schools teach things that are important for a disabled student to learn. For example, an academic education is important, but if a disabled child struggles to go out and to be independent or to talk to other people, having specific lessons in this can be just as important, if not more so. In a special needs school, much less bullying can take place. This helps a child to improve with their confidence and self-belief, as well as helping them become more tolerant due to all the people around them having different disabilities and needs. The cons. The most obvious con is special needs school removes disabled children from the mainstream side of things. It may deprive a disabled children from a lot of experiences they may receive. Some of those would not be easy to deal with, but it's not right to shelter them from the reality of the world. The idea of separation. It's the general idea of how society perceives disabled children if they're treated differently. It's important to achieve equality. Children in the mainstream school need to be around disabled children from a young age, so that is the norm. If there's too much society Yes, if there's too much separation, it will become something strange and unusual. Defining children with a disability and making it a bigger deal than it would actually be is wrong. But if this was in a mainstream education, their disability would not be the prime focus. So, what about leaving children with a specific or additional needs in mainstream education? The pros. The child will have a better grasp of the world and how to interact with others. They might not be able to go out and do the things their classmates can do, but they'll be around a wider mix of people and also be able to experience a less sheltered existence. The other students in the classroom experience what it's like to be around somebody with a disability day to day, and it becomes the norm. Their peers get to know them for who they are, rather than just the fact they're disabled. The child becomes more confident and aware of how the world acts. The cons. Many mainstream schools aren't equipped to deal with people who have disabilities, which means they're not receiving the education they deserve. It could lead to the teacher behaving irresponsibly or cruel towards the student. The risk of bullying is increased. Other students could verbally or physically bully the disabled child. The child may find the mainstream education a challenge and a tough experience. If you were a parent and you had a disabled child, would you send them to a special needs school or a mainstream school? Take a minute to think about your answer. The world worries about disability more than disabled people do. This statement is very powerful. I hope you all enjoyed my presentation and learned something that you can use in your classroom in the future, and how to use different strategies to teach a disabled child and to enhance their ability to education. References. Thank you.